Welcome back to the SSL Family Dad channel. Today I'm going to show you 3 ways to grow food through the winter. Springtime and gardening season is always my absolute favorite time of year. Things start to warm up here in Michigan. We can get outside and plant crops. Things are growing, things are blooming, leaves are coming back to the trees. It's such an awesome time of year. And then fall comes and things turn brown and things get cold and gloomy and dark and rainy, and it's not a lot of fun. But over the years, we have learned lots of different ways to continue gardening all throughout the winter, all throughout the cold months. No matter what kind of house you have, no matter what kind of space you have, there's different ways that you can utilize what you've got and certainly garden and grow things throughout the wintertime. There are 2 goals really that we have when we're gardening in the winter. Number 1, we want to produce some food for ourselves. We want to be able to produce some leafy greens, some colder weather stuff, that we can have some fresh vegetables and some fresh greens throughout the wintertime. What we really aren't going to be doing is growing a lot of our hot weather crops. We're not going to be producing a bunch of potatoes and tomatoes and heavily fruiting crops. We just don't have enough sunlight time throughout the wintertime here in Michigan. The other thing that we can do, the other goal that we have, is to overwinter a lot of our produce, a lot of our vegetables and fruit trees. And so there are many things that we grow here in the northern states that aren't really meant to grow here. Bell peppers, for instance, and many tomato varieties will continue to survive for many years. If you have a hot enough climate, you plant them in the ground and they will continue to produce all year round for many years. I've kept pepper plants alive for 3 or 4 years. But here in the northern states, as soon as the frost hits, the cold weather hits, those things will die off. So what we do is many times we'll bring our peppers or tomatoes or other things inside, and we will overwinter them. Now, they're not going to produce very heavily in the wintertime. We might get a few fruits here and there, but what we will have is when springtime comes around, we will have an adult, mature plant ready to take right outside, and we will have a great harvest all summer long from that plant. We don't have to wait for seedlings to grow. We don't have to re-buy a seedling again or anything like that. So overwintering is a great way to continue the gardening inside, but also get prepped for next season throughout the winter. We also have fruit trees. Many of our fruit trees are tropical climate fruit trees we grow here in Michigan. We move them out in the summertime. They get lots more sunlight. They get bigger pots and things like that in the fresh air, and they'll grow all summer long. And then when fall hits, cold weather comes, we move those inside. Now again, they're not going to be heavy producers for us throughout the wintertime, but they will overwinter, and then we'll get them ready and prepped to go out in the springtime. So over the years, we have found lots of different little ways that we can continue gardening throughout the winter. So let me show you 3 things that we have that will help us to overwinter things and to grow some produce for ourselves in the cold months. So the first one is simple and something that just about anyone can do that has a south-facing window, door wall or anything like that, and that is just grab a pot of some sort, some good garden soil and some compost, and bring your vegetables or bring your vegetable plants in. I'll show you a bunch of different things that we have brought in. These are our pepper plants that we just brought in a couple weeks ago. They are recovering from a very nasty bug infestation, and so we'll be picking off a lot of these leaves and mulching them right into the pot. But this will soon take off and start to grow all new leaves. And we do have a few peppers that have started to set in here that may end up taking off. There's a few right in here and a few others that we may end up getting some growth out of. But you can see already we've got some new leaves that are starting. And then these old holy ones from all the bugs will fall off, or we'll pick them off and let the new peppers grow. So these peppers will actually grow really nice thick trunks, and they can grow 4 feet tall. I mean, these things can really take over. We moved 4 of them in here, and they'll share a pot, and they'll actually help to support each other as they grow up taller. We also have a bunch of tomatoes that we have brought in. So many of these were clones. So I cut branches or suckers off of some tomato plants that we had outside, and then just popped them in the pot here, and then they will re-root. And so a lot of these are actually very young tomato plants. We've got a couple here, and this one actually has a flower on it. So we may actually get some tomatoes out of that. There is a little tomato on this one, but I'm not sure if this one's going to survive yet, so we'll see. And some of these you'll see here, this was one that we just cut back. I just chopped the whole top of it off, and then you can see it starting to regrow here. And so that kind of resets the clock on some of these determinate varieties of tomatoes where they don't live forever. They'll actually die off after a certain period of time. or a certain maturity. But if you cut them off, or you redo or take suckers off and clone them, it'll actually help them to continue to grow much longer. We also have some bananas in here that we have planted. So the banana trees that we bought, they continue to spread off these little suckers off the side, and so I actually keep breaking these out and putting them in new pots so we have more banana trees. We also have lots of different fruit trees in here, and lots of different varieties of strawberries that will kind of continue to grow throughout the year. Not a whole lot of sunlight coming in here, and so they don't really produce too much for us, but they'll be ready to go in the springtime. Got all of our different trees here. This one is just starting to kind of recover from the shock of the bringing it inside. So you see some new leaf growth here. This is an olive tree or bush. And we've got some coffee here and here, and then another bunch of the tomatoes that we brought in. So same thing here. This one was just chopped off, and then you'll see the new growth that will come on these. There's also some peas and some beans in here. You can see how leggy they get. This is also about a 4th generation saved seed here, and I think that it may have had some pole bean genetics in it, and so it's not a true bush bean anymore. But same thing here with all these tomatoes. So we've got ones here, and we've got some taller ones here that are growing up, some here that we've actually staked up a little bit, and you can see how well that these are doing. There's also some surprises in here that have been growing. And these are oak trees. So we actually have a ton of these oak trees growing in here. I can't believe the root that this thing has grown already. Look at that. Look at the root on that. That is just insane. So we have a bunch of acorns that fell into these pots, and so we have a ton of oak trees growing in here. So we'll just mulch that back in. So these grow towers, these actually stay inside. We were going to move these in and out, but these actually have just been staying in here, and we've just been growing kind of year round. These have just started to get more sunlight because the southern facing windows here, the sun is getting a little lower, and the leaves are starting to finally fall off the trees and let a little more light in here. So these will grow really well for us, and we'll continue to plant more crops in here. We've got kale that grows in here all year. We've got some strawberries that are on the back side there, you can't really see. Every once in a while we'll get some strawberries off of those, and then we've got onions and some beans and peas and things like that growing in there for nitrogen help for the soil. So the first method is simple. Bring in as much as you can from your garden. Pick your healthiest bell pepper plants, however many pots you can get, bring those inside and plant them, stick them next to a window or a windowsill or wherever you can, and let them they just have to survive through the winter. They don't have to thrive. They don't have to, just produce a ton of bell peppers all winter long, but they will certainly get you a head start in the springtime. Same with your tomato plants and anything else that you have, herbs or other things like that that are continual growth type plants, and you can bring those in and they'll overwinter just fine. So the next thing I'll show you is actually a way to produce microgreens or leafy greens in any place. You don't need to even have a window for this one. So another way to grow indoors is with some type of a shelf or grow shelf like this. Now I made this one, and I have a whole video on building this. It actually has some little LED panels, little LED grow panels underneath each shelf here, and then there's a little switch on the back side you can turn off each individual shelf. And then I just have some of these seed starting trays in here. So this is a perfect way to grow wheatgrass, microgreens. There's all kinds of different microgreens you could grow in here. And then what I usually use it for is starting seeds or growing just lettuces. And so today I'm going to plant some different mixes of lettuce in here. This is a black seed Simpson, which is one of our favorites. And then just a gourmet mix here. We'll just sprinkle that throughout all these trays. There's a couple different kinds of trays here. We also have heat pads underneath each one of these trays to keep them warm. This is a cooler part of our house here, a little basement area. So that'll help the seeds to germinate, and then the crops that we're growing here are suited for this type of environment. The lettuce is a good cool weather crop, and so it stays about 60 degrees back here, and so the lettuce will do really well. The nice thing about having these lights, they're fairly close. I would say this is about from here to here, I think it was like 14 inches. And so you can't grow really tall things in here, but lettuces grow really well. And the lettuce will actually stay pretty short in here because these lights are pretty powerful for this area. So this shelf will actually grow quite a bit of food. So with this kind of planting, I'm not going to be super picky. We're just spread some seeds out in here, and whatever grows, grows. We can thin it out and as we harvest, or just let it all grow up kind of thick. That's fine too. So I will put a link in the top upper right hand corner there, or in the link system if you're watching on TV. And I'll put a link to the video where I made this shelf. I reused an old shelf, and the grow lights, like I said, purchased on Amazon. They're not expensive at all. You could do this with any old shelf, any of those cheap Walmart shelves, or any old shelf you have laying around. Take advantage of a dark space somewhere in your house, in a basement, a closet, a utility room, an entryway, anything like that, and throw a shelf up and start growing some food. And the last one we have here is something kind of special. This is a prepackaged grow system. It's new on the market. In fact, I think that they're just in a Kickstarter campaign right now. It's called LUT Pot, and I'll put a link to this, of course, in the description as always. But this is a smart watering or smart system of grow system. It has an actual bucket here on the side that has a small little pump in it. So this is your water reservoir. And down there you can see the pump in the upper right hand corner, and then this little tube here is a overflow. And so I add nutrients to this as well, so it's kind of like a hydroponics type deal, or liquid nutrients into the water. I'm using some old nutrients that I have laying around here, hydroponic stuff. You could also put compost tea or vermicompost tea or anything like that in here as well that would provide nutrients for your plants. So this all is app controlled, so it's a Bluetooth system, and you just open up the LUT Pot app, and then you can actually set it to how often you want it to water. So you can do once a day, twice a day, or you continue on more than that, and how long you want that pump to run. You can let it run for 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 20 minutes, something like that, and it'll cycle that water through the planting system. So what this does is it actually pumps water up to the reservoir here, and then I'll pop one of these pots out so you can see. So inside it keeps the level of water just enough so that it gets up to the bottom of these planters. The bottom of the planters are filled with expanded clay or lava rocks, whatever you want, and then you just fill the rest of the pot up with soil. And so when that pump runs, it will push this level of water up so that it gets high enough in here so that it can actually soak up into the soil and get the root level, root zone of the pots nice and wet. And it'll do that to all of them, and then the extra will flow down the tube into the bottom level here, and then the same thing happens here. So just allows that water level to get high enough where it will start to get sucked up and absorbed up into your soil, and it has worked. This one here, I put dry soil in here, and just testing these right now, I can see that everything is moist. It's not super soaked or anything because of that timer. It'll let the water kind of pump in there, run through for a little while. It'll absorb whatever it needs, and then it will shut off, and then the next day or later on that day it'll pump again and fill everything up. So I've got a bunch of our banana plants in here, some tomato clones. This works great for the tomato clones, so I've just cut off some suckers from our tomato plants and stuck them way down in there so that the bottom of the stem is actually in the water in that expanded clay, and then the rest of it is in the soil. And so this will start to root off, and then we'll have some new tomato plants. Got another banana sucker here, so I've got 3 of those. We'll see how well they do, and I've just got some kale that we threw in here the other day. So you can get more information on this LUT Pot grow system through that link. But there are a ton of other options for these types of grow systems, indoor grow systems, self-watering, hydroponics, aquaponics, all kinds of different little kits that you can get. If you check out the SSLFamilyDad Amazon store, there are several that we have here, we've used here over the years, and have worked really well. So all kinds of different indoor grow systems, self-watering, and all kinds of different stuff. So hopefully this has inspired you to continue to garden through the winter. Don't give up. Don't just sit all gloomy through the cold months and wish that you were out gardening. plant some things around your house. Don't forget to hit thumbs up on today's video. Hopefully you guys enjoyed and got some useful information here. Let me know what you guys think. Any other indoor gardening ideas that I missed? Love to have you guys chime in and let me know what you guys do through the wintertime in the northern states. If this is your first time here, of course, we'd love to have you subscribe and tag along. And as always, guys, thanks for watching. Have a good one.